we will not be doing any opportunities to respond at the close of worship. One thing I neglected to tell you, it is the tradition and practice of this congregation to have the rain breakfast on Easter Sunday morning. It will happen this year from 8:30 to 9:30 so that we can all gather here in this room for some wonderful Easter music prior to the worship service. It will be in the brick patio between the two buildings, 8:30 to 9:30. Bring cash and your checkbook to donate to RAIN and be generous. You are a generous people. January the 19th, 1993, the First Baptist Church of the city of Washington, D.C. Diane and I were there standing on tiptoes, waiting for Bill and Hillary, Al and Tipper, to arrive for the night before inauguration prayer service hosted by the Baptist Joint Committee. Lo and behold, there was Jody Powell. He walks in. Oh, there's former President Carter and Rosalind. They're there. Finally, down the center aisle come the Clintons and the Gores. And before it's over, Gardner Taylor, close friend and mentor of Martin Luther King Jr., and former pastor of the Concord Baptist Church of Christ in Brooklyn, preaches a stem winder of a sermon admonishing the new congregation to care, the new administration to care for the least and the lost. Diane and I, if not literally, virtually stood on our tiptoes the whole time. Oh, yes, and by the way, I got Bill to autograph my order of worship. No, not the Bill you're thinking of, Bill Moyers, one of my heroes. The next morning, January 20th, in the cold January, bright, sunny, windy day, we stood on our tiptoes just trying to see the big screens down the National Mall, much less that little dot that I think was the new president. But that was a time when we stood on our tiptoes. Today is parade day in Jerusalem, and the people are on their tiptoes trying to see this person coming to town. Who is this man, they want to know? Who is this man? Verse 11 indicates that he's a prophet. Now, prophets are in short supply because in Scripture, inevitably, God's prophets spoke on behalf of those without voices and called into account the self-righteous, the wealthy, the powerful. Now, the common people in Jerusalem, no doubt, were thrilled. However, the politicians, the idle rich, the smug, and the powerful, not so much. Here comes a prophet, get ready for trouble. Prophets had been scarce in that area for a long time, and with good reason. Good reason. Remember, John the Baptist was called a prophet? And Herod took a good look at John and listened as John spoke and called the business community and the clergy as being a brood of vipers and promptly executed him. You know, prophets typically didn't make it to retirement age and get their Social Security. That was just the nature of the profession. So prophets are usually in short supply. It's way easier for a preacher to pamper, to flatter, to compliment, rather than it is to say hard things to people one loves. And sometimes it's a fear that keeps one from being prophetic. You know, the desire to live a long life. And while speaking the truth to power is important, there's more than just speaking, right? Speaking and doing are two different things. Some live holy at church and treat their families like the devil during the week. Some pray like Peter and preach like Paul on Sunday, but leave all that behind on Monday. Speaking is one thing, being and doing are something different. It's difficult to move from talk to action. We hear lots of sermons, and you've heard them from me, with lots of shoulds, oughts, and musts. But most of those you and I know already. We just fail at least part of the time, and maybe most of the time, and some of us perhaps all of the time, to live up to those. So a prophet that simply speaks is not enough. We need something more than just a speaker. And that's what Matthew tells us. Jesus courageously and forthrightly tells the truth, but he's more than that. He is the truth. Doesn't just talk about God, he is God. Jesus rides into town, the crowds acclaiming him as prophet. And what does he do? He goes straight to the temple. And he doesn't enter the temple as a visiting minister from out of town, come to say good things about the senior minister and the staff. No. He creates an earthquake that's felt even to this day. He takes charge, overturns the sales tables of those selling religious items in the house of God. Well, what are these salespeople selling? They're offering a service, selling doves and lambs for sacrifice that worshipers needed to have. What they're doing is not totally bad. They're trying to help other people get closer to God. Well, there's that little prophet thing thrown in there as well, but they're providing an important service. But Jesus says to them, you aren't needed anymore. There's another way, not only to move closer to God, but to allow God come closer to you. You see, it's entirely a different matter to ride into town, take charge, and be king. No wonder all the powers that be realize before the week is out that they've got to do away with this person. But the good news is that this Friday, that big veil in the temple that separates God from humans will be ripped in two. And nothing in all creation can separate you and me, us, from the love of God. For not only can we get to God, now God can get to us. No intermediaries. So get ready. As my friend Kate Harvey Jacobs, retired pastor of the First Baptist Church in America in Providence, Rhode Island, reminds us, this Sunday is a confusing Sunday. Initially, it has that festive feel, the festive feel of a prelude to Easter with spring flowers, stirring music. But it also has the dark, cold shadow of Good Friday looming over the horizon. For the status quo of this world is on hospice. Death is in the air, but death is not the final word. There's the smell of death, the sounds of violence, but also the sound of silence. That silence of Saturday when the whole world waits? Will anything happen? Will it? And the only way you and I can get from here to there, from Palm Sunday to Easter, is to go straight into and through the darkness, the silence, the pain that occurs between the two. We can't rush from the peak of Palm Sunday to the peak of Easter without going through that deepest, darkest valley. On that Sunday, many people realized that there was something special about Jesus, and they either adored him or abhorred him, depending on who they were, and whether or not they perceived him as good or bad news. Only a few days later, these same people came together and come together and collude to kill Jesus. And when he dies, there's one disciple and some women at the foot of the cross. For women were last at the cross and first at the tomb, the first proclaimers of what Easter is about. So it's time, fasten your seatbelts, put your seat backs and tray tables in the upright position, because we're headed for turbulence this week. And before it's over, there'll be suffering and death. The question is, what will your response, my response, be to such sacrifice? My prayer is that we will respond in the words that Isaac Watts wrote in that beautiful hymn. He writes that even if the whole of nature belonged to us, and we offer that in return in light of what has been done for you and me, it would be a gift far too small. He writes, love so amazing, love so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. Well, if that's truly the case in your life, in my life, and in the life of this church, guess what? New ministries would pop up regularly. They would be sprouting up all over the place. The church budget? What do you mean it's an issue? It wouldn't be. And we would have more volunteers than we would have places for them to serve. Imagine that. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my life, my soul, my all. So, who is this man? Who is this man to you? That's the question in Jerusalem this morning, and that's the question at Myers Park this morning. According to Matthew, it makes a huge difference, not just this week, but every week, every day, every hour. Is this just a man with good ideas, a great ethical teacher, a miracle worker, one who tells the truth? Is he merely a great moral example? Last I checked, great moral examples aren't put to death. So who is he? Does he speak truth? Or does he speak, do, and is the truth? You and I don't need any more good advice. We don't need more challenging words. We don't need to be scolded and berated. Many came that day to the parade standing on tiptoes to see a prophet. Some left and claimed that they had encountered God. You know, I think that's why you're here. Whether you know it or not, I think that's why you're at the parade this morning. standing on tiptoes, trying to see, hoping to get a glimpse. Who is this man for you, anyway?